everybody, and welcome to the Her Story Collaborative. My name is Jen Buck, and I'm your host here in the Collab. I'm a professional speaker, executive strategist, and author of 5 books, and a nonprofit founder. Now, my speaking and training business is all about helping people get to the highest points in their career, whatever that might look like. And in the Her Story Collaborative, what I like to do is bring you incredible women who are making a difference in their corner of the world. And today is no different. My next guest is Tulika Rani. Now, this is an exciting talk for me because I'm so impressed with this individual. We've had a chance to talk a little bit on the phone before the interview, and we've decided that we're going to do a 2-parter in this series. So she comes to us with 15 years of experience in diverse fields as an ex-Indian Air Force officer, a mountaineer, she's an Everester, a motivational speaker, writer, and research scholar. She's been working in the male-dominated field of defense, where she rose to become a military training instructor, where she trained hundreds of officer cadets, including India's first 3 female fighter pilots. She's done 23 mountaineering and trekking expeditions around the world, facing several close brushes with death, and has delivered 85 motivational talks and interviews in India, the US, and UK, which has given her deep insight into human psychology and their aspirations and the struggles in the overall matrix of life. So please help me welcome to the collab, Tulika Rani. It is so good to have you.
Thank you so much, Jen. It is my pleasure to be on your platform because when I connected with you for the first time, I was sure that I would have a talk with you like this because we connected so well at that moment. And it is really a great pleasure for me to be with you today at this platform.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And you're coming to us from India. So it is evening where you are, bright and early in the morning here. And so I'm so honored that you would take the time to just spend about an hour with me. Like I mentioned, we're doing a 2-part series. And the reason I decided to do this for the first time is that I've never had someone with a story like yours. I mean, what you've done, what you've accomplished is something that is, gosh, it's the stuff of books. And if you haven't written a book yet, you definitely need to. But it's really something extraordinary. And when I met you, I was so moved that I thought about you for days. I mean, that's how you moved me. And I just am so grateful that you would spend time here.
Thank you so much again. I suppose it is a matter of opportunities. There are many people who are talented. There are many people who have the drive to do something, but God blesses a certain few with opportunities and resources. So I have been blessed in that fashion. And I would say that all the accomplishments that I have today in front of my name, I really feel not much about them. Because when I see people who have achieved such great feats in this world before me, and certainly there will be many more people after me, I feel that I'm just a small part in this series. So that is how I look at myself. But thank you so much for this high opinion of me. That really boosts my confidence again and gives me further drive to go after my dreams and
Yeah.
do something worthwhile for this world also. Because at one point of time, when we have achieved a certain feat, we have to start giving back to the society because that is from where we have received our nourishment, our encouragement, and now it is time to give it back to the future generation.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love it so much. And you are such a great example of resilience, of courage, and really doing everything it takes to reach your goals. Now, I was so moved when you told me where your name came from and what it means. And so you have to explain this because I feel like it was just an omen to your life and who you were going to be. Tell us the origins of your name.
Yes, my name, Tulika, is a Sanskrit as well as Hindi word. So this means painting brush. And my mother told me when I was born, she has written a poem on my name, basically. And she felt that the dreams that she had for herself as well as for a larger society in this world, I suppose I would be the one to fill colors in those dreams. Colors in the dreams of making this world a better place, not only for myself and my next generation, but for the generations and generations to come. So that's how my name originated. And I feel really blessed again, uh, thanks to my mother that she gave me this name because it is our parents who think about it. And thanks to God that He has given me the strength to be worthy of my name.
Yes, and you certainly have, and it's remarkable. So I have to start at the beginning because your story is so big and it's so inspiring, but I really want to start at the beginning and hear a little bit about where you grew up in India and what you were like as a little girl, because I know that based on what you have accomplished, you're not in a society that's necessarily opening up its doors to women in the fields that you've walked into. So I imagine you were a very bold and brave little girl stepping into these spaces that may not have been open to you. Tell me a little bit about who you were when you were growing up.
I was born in North India, so not very far from Delhi. And when I was growing, I was a very observant child, very sensitive and observant. So I would observe all around me what was happening in the society and was very deeply impacted by the seeming injustices to me. They might have been a part of society and very acceptable practices, but they seemed incongruous to me, to my child mind, because I saw that certain sections in our society are depressed. They're not given equal rights as we were. So in India, we have a caste system, and it is still prevailing, though we are in the course to remove it from our midst. And there are people who are aware of this, that this needs to go. But in all the societies, I suppose, in human societies, we have certain things that need to go. And in our society, that is one, that people are graded into certain castes. And if you come from an upper caste, you have certain privileges. If you come from a so-called lower caste, you do not have that many. So me being born in an upper caste, so-called, did have a little privileges, which my friends did not have from the so-called depressed and lower classes. And I observed it very much. And I thought that, no, this is not right. Thereafter, I did see the gender stereotypes prevailing in our society. And these gender stereotypes, I suppose, prevail not only in India, but all around the world. So women are still in the midst of this fight for equality and gender justice. And my child mind again thought that, no, this is somewhere not right. You know, just because of your gender, you shall not be restricted from dreaming something or achieving something. Thereafter, another thing which I remember about my childhood is that I was very close to nature. And sunsets and sunrises have been my favorites to watch at all times. Even today, it is now night here. Even today evening, I went up to my terrace and I watched the sun setting. Because this circle of sunrise and sunset, right from my childhood, I have associated with the power of rising, because we human beings are also an element of nature. And wherever we see and observe nature, we find that this process of construction, rising, continues unabatedly. It continues. So I used to see that, okay, now sun is setting, but tomorrow morning it is sure to rise. And that means that even after a dark night, the dawn is certain to come. And that is why I have associated sun a lot to me. I have written poems. I used to write poems related to sun as well as me. So just one line over here. Once I wrote, I would say it in Hindi because that time I wrote it in Hindi. I write in both Hindi as well as English. So that time I wrote it in Hindi. बहुत तपिश है इस सूरज में बिल्कुल मेरी ही तरह. So in English, it translates as to, the sun has so much of fire within, just like me. Another poem when I wrote about sun was, उगते हुए सूरज को कोई रोक कर देखो, इस आग में अपना कलेजा झोंक कर देखो. In English, it translates as, somebody dare stopping the rising sun and try to put your heart into its fire, then you will realize what it is. So that's how I have related always with nature. Nature has been my companion since I was a child. So as a child, I was this sensitive little girl who would go up on the terrace every day to watch sunrises, sunsets, and sit over there and write on various issues that my heart and mind was observing. So I would write perhaps about terrorism at that particular time. I also wrote about money not being the ultimate goal of our life. So these were the kind of issues that interested me.
That's amazing. And I have to tell you that I too am very, very moved by sunsets and sunrises. And I have been my whole life. I also was a child that loved nature. I was always in trees. That was my safe space. And as a child, when things would get crazy for whatever reason, and I needed to escape, it was into trees because I was surrounded and I would try to heal the trees. And I've always thought about how that connects to what I do as a speaker is that I'm trying to elevate people and heal what was, what was holding them back. And I used to literally sit in the trees and put, my little sticks and leaves into where I perceived that the branch was cracking or broken. And I would sit and watch the sunsets. And that still to this day for me too is so impactful to me. And it's inspiring, but it also is truth that we made it to another day, right? The sun is
Yes.
still burning. It is still there, fighting every moment down, that that edge of the earth. And it was always for me something that stopped me as well. No matter what was happening in the world, our family would stop and watch the sunset together. And so I love that you have such a connection to that. And that makes me feel even more of a connection to you because I was already feeling, there was just this pull that I couldn't explain hearing you and your story. And so I love that. So tell me, as a little girl, knowing that you were looking at things, I mean, like terrorism and money and social class, what did you think you would be? Because you were questioning these things really young.
I always thought that I'm going to be somebody like Mother Teresa or somebody like, we have a social, there's somebody called Raja Ram Mohan Roy from modern Indian history, and he's called the father of Indian Renaissance in the modern times. So I was very much impressed by him. Then Mother Teresa was one. Swami Vivekananda, the religious leader of India, who went to US in 1893 in the very famous Chicago Parliament of Religions, and he had delivered a very, very famous speech on the Indian philosophy of Advait Vedanta, basically the non-dualism that God and human beings, God and this entire universe are not two separate entities, they are one. So these were people who impacted me deeply in my childhood. And therefore, it was very natural that I wanted to be a social activist, not in that sense that we see social activists today doing protest and everything. No, a quiet person going into the society, making it a better place for everybody. So that is how I never knew this term social activist at that particular time. And I do not want to be a social activist in today's times that we perceive a lot of them, but always a person who would do something to make people's life better, because I was impacted by their pain. I was impacted by the pain of not only human beings but also of animals. So I would perhaps look at a slaughterhouse and be very, very moved, come back to my place and write a poem again on that. So that was how I was.
Wow. And who did you think that you would grow up to be in terms of, so you wanted to be an activist, but but there wasn't a name for it. So how did your trajectory look to you when you were starting to make decisions as, a teenager, let's say, and, starting to move into where you would go to school or what you would do with your life? How did that transform or how did that sort of show up? Were you able to follow that path?
Yes, definitely. Because I feel that when we have an inner urge to do something, it will always materialize. It might differ from what we had perceived or thought of, but it would materialize in some or other form. And that is why when I was in graduation, I took NCC, that's National Cadet Corps, and it is related to military again, that students are trained by military instructors into semi-military kind of a training. So I joined it. And thereafter, I thought of joining the Indian Armed Forces because I thought that, yes, this is a profession which suits my personality the most. As I was from the childhood, human beings intrigued me. So human beings are one big fascination that I have. They look complicated, but if we go deeper in human life, they're quite similar. Our pains, our aspirations, our struggles, our fears are all similar. So human beings are a point of focus for me always. And that is why it was very certain that I would go into a field which would be human oriented, where I would be surrounded by people. And that is why military at that particular time really attracted me. So that was one thing which was going to give me leadership roles. And I had this kind of a courage, even in my school, to take initiatives. Where nobody would do something, I would do that. If nobody is going to stand up to an injustice, I would do that. So I was that kind of a person. And I thought that another thing was traveling. And I knew that in military career, you are transferred every 2 or 3 years. So that was again one thing which really fascinated me towards it, because traveling again is linked to knowing people from different backgrounds. You go to different places and you are able to witness in how many different ways people live. And then you realize that your way of living is the not only right way of living. People live in different ways as per their time, as per their situation, as per their society, as per their beliefs. And for them, it is actually right. So what is the definition of right and wrong then? Sometimes it happens that anything looking different than us, we seem that it is not right. And it happens when we do not have a larger exposure to the world. But when we gain this exposure through traveling and meeting people from various backgrounds, we do realize that truth and right perhaps can be different for each one of us. So I took out my definition of right as being, until you do not do any harm to somebody else intentionally, it is right. So if I want to do something in my career, in my life, even if it is unconventional, even if there is no precedence in the society for doing that, if it is not harming intentionally anybody, it is right. And I have a right as a human being to go and pursue it.
Yes. 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 Oh my gosh. Yes. I am so on board with this. I remember when I wanted to become a speaker, there wasn't a word for it, but I saw someone do it and I was so moved, and I knew that they had changed my life in the moment, and I didn't have a word for it. And I just said I was going to do that, and I knew that that was my calling as well. And it is always about standing on the right side of right. And that means that you're taking care of human beings, you're uplifting the spirit, and you're doing what you can to further someone's goals and dreams, whatever that looks like, and I love your definition for sure. So I have to ask you about going into the military, because I know, if I remember correctly, only 16% of the military in India is female. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
See, it is not still very conventional career for women to take up in Asian societies at least. And there are still certain posts that are not still open to women. So we are in the process of opening up. As a society also, we are in the process of opening up more towards gender justice. And that is applicable to the entire world, I would say. In our part of the world, we have our societal perceptions. In the Western part of the world, they have theirs. But women everywhere are fighting for this equal place under the sun. And in our society, like defense career, if we talk about it specifically, at that time when I joined in 2005, so 2005, I was already selected and my training had begun. So I was selected in 2004 specifically. And when I decided to join Defense Forces, it was still not a very conventional role to choose. And my parents were supportive. But the rest of the society, of course, looks at you in a very different way. You could have chosen a job more suitable physically as well as emotionally for women. That's their general perception. So maybe one could have gone into teaching, or becoming a doctor is also acceptable. So these kind of roles. But I have never taken my decisions based upon my gender. And I always feel that one shall be women or men, one should always choose their career as per their inclination. We are all born with a particular kind of inclination. So if somebody feels like treating ill people, and if you have that inner urge to really help alleviate the pain of ill people, sick people, you shall become a doctor. But I, on the other side, always had this kind of a notion that I want to be surrounded by fit, dynamic, and young people who are outgoing and always doing great things physically also, in high spirits as a team. So though doctors are equally important in our society, and during this pandemic, we have really observed this role, their importance. At that time also, their importance was really clear to me, but I was not of that inclination. And that is why, despite being excellent in my studies, I did not choose an academic field. I chose rather something about which people say that soldiers do not have much intellect. That is a general perception about soldiers. But that was my orientation. It fitted more with my personality, and that's why I chose it. So I would say only one thing. Whenever you choose to do something unconventional, there might be opposition in the beginning. There might be comments from people around you, but that shall not stop us from going that path if our heart is set upon that. If we feel that, yes, this is the work that we are made for, we shall continue on that path. And I have realized with my own experience that people do applaud you when you perform. It might take some time, but if you persist and perform excellently, same people will applaud for you.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And you went through your career, became an officer, and then started to train officer cadets and were responsible for training some of the first females. Is that what I understand? Who became, I think you said pilots, correct?
Yes, yes, that's right. So I had a service of 10 years with Indian Air Force. That was 2005 to 15. My branch was administration and specialization was into air traffic controlling. So I controlled all these kind of planes that we have, fighter planes, transport choppers, civil as well as military planes. So that was my primary job. But after I got into mountaineering, at 4 years of my service, I volunteered for it. And thereafter, I continued with my physical fitness and climbing. So perhaps at that point of time, air headquarters might have thought that this crazy girl who keeps on running after her shifts in the night, evening, morning, at whatever time, she is fit enough to go and train the cadets in the military academy. And that is why I suppose in the last 2.5 years of my service, I was posted as a military outdoor training instructor in the Air Force Academy in Hyderabad in South India. And that was the best time of my life, I would say, because physical fitness had seeped deep into my personality. And it just had become a routine part of my daily schedule. And however hectic my duty was, whether it was up to 11 o'clock in the night or whatever time, I would certainly find out time for my workout. And here, when I was in the academy, the sole job that I had was to run, exercise with my cadets, go into the jungle, carry out a jungle survival camp, and all those things which I really loved to do, being outdoors basically, and doing my physical activities. So here, I was fortunate, I would say, to be associated with the training of these cadets and to see their transformation from young, raw boys and girls into soldiers, into fighters, who would be given responsibility of guarding the nation's territory and integrity. And it was just a coincidence that India's first 3 female fighter pilots were also under training at the time when I was instructor. And today, when they have created history and they are doing excellently well in their field, I feel proud like a mother, I would say. This cadet and instructor bond is always like that of a mother and child, because we see them growing up as a soldier, just from young boys and girls who come into the academy with all these civil notions in their heads. And gradually, during the period of 1 year, they are transformed into disciplined, fit soldiers who just work as a team, who think similarly, and who act on the same goal towards responsibility of nation.
Yes.
So that was, I suppose, the best part of my career. Still, when they come to meet me after my retirement, it gives me a lot of contentment, a lot of happiness.
I love that. I love that. So we're at the point where we are going to close up the first part of our series. And we're going to, of course, continue this in part 2. But I'd like to, if we can, allow you real quickly to give your contact information so that if people can't catch the second episode, they at least know where to find you, so that, you know, they've got an avenue to you. So can you just quickly give us some contact information so that people could find you?
Yes, my email ID I would share: TULICH, Tango Uniform Lima India Charlie Hotel 8383 @ gmail.com. That's my email ID. I'm also on Instagram and LinkedIn. Insta handle is Tulika underscore 14, TOOLIKA Tulika underscore 1414. That's
And
Insta.
I'll make sure to put that into or your Instagram handle and your email into the notes of the show so that people are able to connect with you for sure. And for those of you that are listening, don't go too far away because now we're going to shift into Tulika's adventuresome side where she actually started to get into mountaineering. And it is the most harrowing and exciting story that you will ever hear. So tune in, don't go too far. We're going to finish this one up in just a few moments.